Hello all and welcome back to Blur's Craft. Sorry about that. I had to put the dehumidifier back on or whatever I was doing. But we're going to continue working on this. I think we're going to hit up the red brick and get that out of the way. And then we just got to do some blue piping. And maybe some chunks of yellow or orange. Industrial yellow I'd prefer. But we can go ahead and get in on that. So I'm just going to be starting with this right here. Which means I got to make up some more of that brick red that I did. It's also a nice and sunny day out there today, so I'm gonna try to prime the rest of my stuff. So right now I'm just mixing up the brick red that I'm going to use right here. See how well I matched the color. As long as it's close, it will be fine. So this is looking really a lot more red. Make sure I got, oh, see, I missed a little blob of blue. So maybe that'll help tone it down a little bit. And if it's a little bit of a different shade of that brick red, I'm okay with that too. A little, the difference in the actual colors isn't going to matter because I'm using a set palette. The fact that I'm only using, here, I'll get it together. Maybe I'll get it together, sorry. So I'm only using these colors. I got a white, I got a green, I got a blue, I got a red, I got a burnt umber, or what do they call this? Yellow ochre, and a yellow. So the fact that I'm using a limited palette, it's a set palette for all of these, it doesn't matter if this red doesn't match the brick red that I made on the last one, because it's made with the same exact colors. I didn't use a different yellow, or I didn't use a different red to make it. So it will match everything a little bit that has that red. It's the whole theory of if you make your brown out of the color that you're painting with, the brown will match your palette better. That's a technique I learned oil painting. So, what up, Verdi Vamp 420? Good morning. Potato Popper, thank you. I definitely do like the teal color. I really like the way that it blends when you shade it. Here, I got this piece. Oh, let me not get different paint on it. So this is that same teal. This is one of excuse me, it's the elevator for one of those other pieces. But instead of just leaving it this kind of dark color that's here in the center, which is what all the green is, I took some white, and blended them medium tone. It does look like copper killer cactus. Which is, I guess, one of the reasons I like it. I do like the way that copper, the way that it patinas. If you were to put some red rusty in here, it would look absolutely great. Um, but if you do these little highlight spots with some mid-tone and then some even closer to white tone, it really just does like a natural highlighting, and you don't, I'll do some here so you can see, but you don't really have to, you don't have to do much, because these, I mean, these are water-based oils, but because oil paints take so long to dry, you really have a long time to mess with them. I can sit here and talk to you guys this whole time and just space out about this color that I'm putting on there, and then go back with white and blend it up and, you know, highlight it up, and it will look great. So that is definitely one of the positives of painting with this. The color, the pigment itself is also very saturated, so it's very strong. It's very strong pigment, so it really colors stuff even with just a little bit of the paint itself. But I'm just gonna go through and get a layer of this red on all of these bricks. And if it's a little watered down, that's fine. There's so many cracks in the brickwork down here that is your favorite matte to paint. I'm not sure what you mean by matte, Potato Popper. Styrofoam with a black coat. Oh, material, yes. To paint? Honestly, I would say styrofoam with anything primed it's not really about what I'm painting. It's about how the primer is reacting to what I'm painting and to the medium I'm putting on it. So if for some reason this primer was super gloss and this watered down oil paint didn't want to stick and it was just like leaving patches, I would be very irritated. That stuff drives me crazy. I would go prime it again. I just take it right back outside and hit it with another matte prime, because the glossier your paint is, the smoother it is, the harder it is for other paint to stick to it. So it's all about the prime for me. Doesn't really necessarily matter the material I'm feeling, although I might go with you and say styrofoam. Yeah, so that's the thing with the plastic, is that if you sometimes the prime won't stick to it, and you'll like start going like this, and then all of a sudden the primer's coming off of it and you're just seeing it plastic exposed to it. Straws, that is actually why I switched from plastic straws to paper straws, is because paper straws absorb and they build up a layer, whereas plastic straws build up a layer, don't absorb, build up a layer, and then that stuff will flake off really easy. And there's nothing more irritating than like packing your, scratch built whatever up and taking it somewhere and then showing up and a bunch of little flakes of paint have flaked off, and you can see all the red stripes from your plastic straws. It really bothers me. That's why I switched to using the paper straws. They hold the prime better. They're just a better product in my opinion. They cut easier. They're a little bit easier to work with. But I would say I'd probably agree with you. Yes, paper straws. I would agree with you. Probably say styrofoam once it's good Mod Podged and primed. It's pretty easy to paint. It doesn't absorb the paint. It doesn't, repel the paint. So I'm all about it. Should this? I have enough red paint. I think I'm gonna do this too. This is gonna end up red right here. But yeah, I don't really have a favorite medium to paint with, to paint on. I guess I painted on canvas and paper for so long that that would, you know, that was the first thing I was going to say when you said material. I was going to be like, well, like canvas, but I understand that that's not really what you're talking about. I don't care if I'm getting paint kind of on other stuff because I gotta go back and repaint this stuff anyways, so try to get this whatever's behind all of this crap. I did prime this in an interesting technique which a friend of mine showed, Doom and Apathy, on Instagram. If you go check him out, he does this thing which he calls a chromatic zenithal, and it's where you hit it from different angles with different colors in between zenithaling, and it this is for a tabletop. This is for Necromunda. Sorry, I was reading the other ones. Yeah, I mean, bad at drawing, that's subjective. Art is subjective. So I mean, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But bad at drawing things that look real, that's a thing. But I don't think anybody's actually bad at drawing. If you can put medium on a, you know, on a piece of paper, then you're drawing. I don't think there's a good and bad to it until you start being subjected to it. Nice. Well, animals are better than humans anyway, so. So here, now, I just put a little blob of white there, and I'm going to lighten this up a little bit. So I got a mid-tone. And then it looks like I put all the shading on this corner. It's been a couple days since I worked on this. I went camping, so I haven't even been around the house to look at it and remember what I was doing. So I shaded from this side, so I'm going to do the light from this side. And because some of these bricks stick out, I'm going to try to maintain like a vertical down. Instead of painting from this direction, I'm going to paint with my brush like this, with the lighter pigment on it, so I'm hitting more of the top of the bricks. That will help kind of show where the light is coming from, and hopefully leave like a natural shadow there too. So, and I'm just gonna get this mid-tone all over these two sides. And then maybe just a little speckled in here. Just to keep it from being one flat color. That variation adds a lot to it. Makes it look much more naturally worn. Oh, and I missed a little spot back here. Try to fill it in with some of this dark that I have left. And not even worry about shading it. So now, let me get you back to your back to the highlight point. So then I'm going to go with even more, an even lighter tone, and I'm going to do that thing, and I'm going to stipple from the top down and try to catch the top of the bricks. In fact, I'm going to give you a little bit better of a close-up. Excuse me while I wreck the camera and everything attached to it. Come on. There we go. Okay, so you can see the shading is a little bit better. So then I'm jumping a step here, but since I got you zoomed in, I thought I might as well. Then I'll go with almost almost pure white. Not though. And I'll, highlight where it's really going to be hitting. And the great thing about this paint is that you basically just sit here and wet blend it to your desired tone. If you if you aren't liking it, you can always just put more dark and start kind of over. It is always going to lighten up with this particular technique because you're going from dark to light. So even if I put dark on this, it's going to be a little bit of a lighter tone because there's light paint all over it. But the real cool thing is that you can then tone it back down if you need. Like say I decided that this is a little bit too bright on this corner for me, a little bit too white. After I shade something and I've picked up a little bit of that darker paint there and made more of a mid-tone as opposed to a light tone, I can come back and work that in. And the more I work it in, the more it's going to blend together and become one solid color and not be so spotty. I like the spottiness. This kind of pattern, brickwork with this, you could actually probably do pretty well with some dry brushes down if you wanted to be quick. Just, get some of that paint on there, wipe up most of it off, and do dry brushing down in strokes like this. And you could probably get a pretty good, blend on it that way too. I like the stippling effect personally because it makes it look a little bit less consistent. But if I were doing this for something that needed to be a little bit more consistent, say brickwork that wasn't super ruined or in the Underhive, I might not, I'd want a little bit more consistency. Now if I mess with this side with any of this light paint on there, I'm gonna leave some little mid-tone blotches, which is fine. I just don't want to go too much with it. It's also not too bad if you're going from the top down, because that's how light is going to hit it anyways. So also that will help just give it a little bit more detail. Keeps it from being so flat looking. So we're going to go back here. We're going to go with a real, again, back up to the white. And we're going to bring a little bit more of this down because I like to really highlight one corner or one side or something just to really blast that effect of where the light is coming from. All right, well that is, I think, most of the red on here. I don't feel like I need to mess with that anymore. I do have a bit left over, which I can save for the brown. And I don't feel like I need to highlight this anymore. So yeah, we can move on to the next color. And that is going to be a blue, I think. And I'm going to zoom you back out. So mind the shakies. Stay. That's a horrible view, so I'm going to do it again. I'm fairly new at this, and if you don't mind, how do you make ground look so real? Kind of like doing light posts, I think. If you don't mind, how do you make the ground look so real? In what aspect, my friends? Because this still needs to get painted. I can switch this one out real quick. So that's kind of the tone I went with for the actual dirt. Um, if you're asking what material it's made out of, it's I do quite a few different varieties of flock that I use, or sand, or whatever you want to call it. I just call it texture. So there's sand in here, there's coconut fiber in here, there's coffee grounds in here, there's little rocks in here, there's all the garbage I've scraped off of my desk, so there's little chunks of styrofoam, which I don't really want in there. But I can always just pull them out when they get stuck to something if I don't like it. And yeah, I just use this. That's my texture, and I will do them in layers. Like I have all of those things separate from each other too. So I can put them on in different layers if I want it to be more bulky and built up. I'll put a lot of the coconut fiber first, and the coffee grounds, and then the sand and rocky type of stuff. But I found that just doing layers of that mix works really well. It's inconsistent enough. It leaves like little chunks and things that what's funny is that if you push your finger on it, you hear the crunch because there's like so much weird the coconut fiber. But yeah, the trick with that I feel like is doing a few layers of it, definitely more than one layer. You want at least 3, and a variety of textures. You don't just want one grit of sand, because that will look like very plain, like a mowed lawn basically. So but that's really my trick. The 3 are sand, coconut fiber, and coffee grounds. And the coffee grounds are pretty large, coarse grounds, so they're a little bit bigger than the fiber itself. But so now I'm just gonna mix up some blue paint here, and we can get some of these pipes working. Or like I've been using blue to kind of represent industrial-esque things. So pipes, platforms, cranes, elevators. So I think I will start right here on this side, right here. I might do some piping in yellow on this one because there are a lot of pipes. And like I said, the other issue is that I am doing this all make a good balance. Yeah. The other good thing about it is it stays relatively level. If you go through and you knock down bits that are sticking up too much, you can keep it relatively level to keep gameplay from being like an absolute slog trying to get models to stand wherever the heck they are. Or if you're like playing something that has any sort of large base, a lot of times that'll make it worse. But the cool thing about Necromunda is most bases are small and it's very skirmish. So having, sloped hillside, which I thought about doing that on one, is I kind of like to do something that was, had like a buildup of dirt on one side or something, like maybe do a little ash waste outpost eventually, and they do like where the sand has built up on the side of something. I think that would look cool. I'm gonna do pretty much this whole thing right here in blue. So we're just gonna start getting the blue on here. So this is my first experiment or experience trying to paint oil paint on terrain. I've only ever used them like as washes to dirty things down. I haven't ever tried to paint a piece of terrain completely out of oils. So that's also part of the reason why I was like, I'm just going to try to do it all out of oils, because I've never done it, and I thought it would be an interesting experiment to use a set palette. Let's take that elevator out. A set palette and blending, kind of wet blending with oils. I thought that would be good. Morning, Jeff. Thanks, buddy. I have been quite enjoying the way that the oils have been turning out too. So it hasn't been like, oh, I hate this. This experiment sucked. I wasn't really worried about feeling that way about it. Like, if I had started the first one and been like, no, I do not like the way that this is coming out, I would have just reprimed it. I'm okay with going back and fixing things or covering up something. It's none of this is going to be around for a long time. It's made out of garbage. It will probably go back in the garbage eventually, so I don't, impermanence. It is kind of a lesson in impermanence. But it has been really fun, and I like the wet blending that's happening, so it has really been enjoyable, and I will probably try to do more experiments with oil painting on terrain, see if I can't get some of that moving more. It's funny because you could totally play it with Killzone 2. I played a couple of Killzones on it. Killzone games. Or no, not Killzone. What am I thinking? Kill Team. I have played Kill Team on it. I don't know if I know what Killzone is. But if it is a futuristic or sci-fi skirmish game, you could probably play it on this and it would work perfectly. So I had to mix up more blue because there's a lot to paint here. And yes, the paint does go pretty far. Like it, even watered down, it does have good coverage. It definitely, changes the color of whatever it gets put on, as opposed to just washing away, even when it's really quite watery. But there still is a lot of blue I'm putting on here. And I also will wash this all down with a old PS2 game, huh? I don't know if I remember that one. Yeah, a little bit of steam, but yeah, I feel like a lot of that kind of, I don't know, sci-fi first-person shooter-y, post-apocalyptic, all those genres kind of fit in with each other, and they kind of like bounce off of each other in the sense of like not necessarily perfectly interchangeable, but recognizable similarities. So we're just gonna keep at it with the blue down here. I did highlight with magenta, or I did a prime with magenta from one direction and teal from another direction. So that's why this blue here is turning into a little bit of a purpley, but that's okay. And I actually have gotten a little bit of blue on here. It ran down, but because that brown is made out of that, has a little bit of that blue in there anyways, I can blend it in. And in fact, where did I put that? I could grab a little bit of this and go back and highlight the top. And actually, that looks better than before. The blue ran all down the side of it. So the oil paints are a little bit more forgiving in that sense. You just have to be okay with, you know, possibly destroying what you thought was a cool highlight to fix something, and then going back and making that highlight again. So, all right. Well, I'm feeling that. Yeah, Sci-Fi World War II is a good. Okay, I like that. Was that Killzone Sci-Fi World War II? That's a great setting. I do always like the World War sci-fi stuff. So we gotta keep on pipes and industrial stuff. I think I want to do this yellowy orange. So I'm just gonna keep on pipes back here. And so it's funny, is like, I try not to use plastic straws, but I do use a lot of these plastic pipes in my build, and they work just like the plastic straws. That stuff will pop right off of them. The primer will just scrape right off of them, and it can be just such a downer sometimes. So I have to remind myself to be gentle around those plastic pipes, because they repel the primer worse than the regular plastic does for some reason. Gotta add a little bit more blue up in here. Grab myself a drink of water. So I think I'll do a bit more yellow on this one than I have on the other ones. So I think I'll do this, and this big thing all in yellow. So that means I just need to cover whatever isn't that with these other colors. Good. door is gonna be blue. And again, if I get like some blue on those bricks down here, right around the edge of this, I can just blend that in a little bit. Maybe grab me a little bit more of this darker color. I do realize that I missed this right here, so I'm going to try to fix it real quick. If I can. Do I have enough paint left? That's the other thing, it's pretty forgiving paint. It just takes a long time to get whatever you're trying to do done. Purple doors. Well, it's turning a little purpley anyway, so yeah, hopefully that doesn't like lead into the septic tank, right? I'm gonna put blue all over this. If you do it a little bit more watered down, it will give kind of a faded effect, which works really good if you're trying to do something that is beat up and worn. So I would suggest, if you do try to mess with oil paints or these water soluble oil paints that I'm using, which were a gift to me. It's the only reason that I'm using them is somebody gave them to me and I was like, oh, okay, I'll try them out. And then I thought it'd be fun to use them for this project. So if you are using oil paints and trying to do something worn down, it's really easy to just kind of do it in a slightly thicker wash and let it set, and it will still tone, you know, give whatever it is a pigment, but it'll kind of drip with gravity a little bit and look really weathered. You'll give it a nice weathered effect, and it's very easy to do. You can do it with acrylic as well, just straight acrylics. It just takes a little bit more time management, because with this you can kind of like forget it for 10 minutes and come back because the oil paint takes so long to dry. And I would say that it's about 48 hours to get completely dry for this medium that I'm using here. Regular oil paints, it really matters, like humidity, all that stuff. All right. Set that aside for a second. I do need a little bit more blue because I got a couple other pieces I want to touch up and a couple that I want to darken. And I think mix me up some more blues. And do this grate too, because I did the grate on the top of the elevator. The same color and it's the same consistency of a grate. It was a an old baby gate that I cut the plastic grating out of. Still have a big chunk of it because I liked like the different size circles, the big circles and little circles. You never know where you can get your material from. Like literally going through the recycling, going through the garbage. And for me, it's really stopping things before they hit the garbage is really my technique. I try not to like dig through refuse if I have to. And really, I try not to. I still do. I'm not gonna lie. But if I can catch something before it's being thrown in the nasty bin, even better. And one thing I have found that has really helped me in gaining, materials to build with has been showing and telling people what I'm making. And now I have people that just have no idea what Necromunda is, have never played a tabletop game or anything like that, that say, "Oh, this looks like a real cool, piece of plastic," and they'll save it for me and give it to me. So, it's an interesting shaped piece of wood. So that helps. It's funny that like as soon as I got over like the embarrassment of me playing with my plastic toys and started telling people about it, I got more inspiration and what do you call it, like more interest in what I was doing and more involvement. And then people start giving me trash. So just a suggestion I would, if you are looking to try to obtain more cool items for builds, talk to people, tell them what you do, show them what you do. Some of them might make fun of you for it, but fuck them. What are we, kids? So unfortunately that blue up top got away from me a little bit, and this keel is already really dry, so it's not yeah, I have like I said, it's one of those things where it kind of has to show up in your existence to be able to snag it. Like I'm not gonna go buy a brand new kids toy set to break it apart and use the elevator from it, but I definitely snag things from toys all the time. All the piping is kids toys. There's like old Legos I pulled out of the bin. I guess not so much on this. This is mostly garbage and GW, but I have thought about that. I have thought about that a lot, and I try to keep my eye open for stuff, toys, especially when I see boxes of free toys. I'll look in there. Maybe I'll find a cool bit or something to inspire me to do a new build or add to a build or something like that. The other thing that really I try to focus on is using what I have. So instead of like going out and getting something brand new to work it, I try to use whatever I have. So I had a bunch of these, I don't know, microwavable containers that had been saved. I didn't save them, but I found a whole box of them, and I like the, I like the way they look. So I have some of those. I'll use those. I had plastic straws, so I use those. I have paper straws now, so I'll use those. That's how it kind of works for me. But I do have preferences, and I do follow certain things in my own personal building that I abide by just because it keeps it easy for me and keeps me sane. That doesn't mean that it will work for everybody. Yeah, they do that a lot around me too, where they just put like boxes on the curb to say free. So whenever I go for a bike ride with the kid or a walk or whatever, and I see some of that, or I'm driving and I see some of that, and I have time to stop, I'll look through it. I definitely don't go, oh, I'm going to grab this whole box and toss it in my workshop and try to use everything from it. It's more like, oh, I need wheels. So if there are any wheels in this box, I'm going to snag the wheels. Or oh, there's something with an elevator, like you're saying. Or here's an old Hot Wheels playset that has a cool ramp or something that I can use for something else. That's how I go about it. Or garage sales or Goodwill. Savers is one that bam, okay, I think I'm gonna do these blue as well. Cool. Don't hate that. So, like I said earlier, this is a very very nice day out there today. So, I'm gonna try to get the rest of this board primed. So that because I've painted 5 of the 9 pieces already, so I only got 4 more to go. So if I can get those 4 primed, I can probably crank it out relatively quickly. I don't really have a time frame for this. I was trying to get some of it done for this weekend, but I doubt I'll even need it. But yes, I will. I mean, I don't know if I'll be live streaming it, but I'll be attending a exclusive event, the Brothers of Prometheum event, run by the Hive Scum podcast this weekend, and I'm very excited. I wanted to get like 4 of these painted up so that there'd be like a little 2x2 board of sci-fi terrain that anybody could use, kind of open game if needed. I should be able to at least get this one done to that point, because all I really have left on here is yellow and a black wash for me to be somewhat satisfied with it. So, oh, and the brown for the, so I do have 3 steps. So I do have extra blue here, so I'm just gonna try to put like another watered down on some of this stuff to try to get it to look a little bit more weathered. make it look a little more drippy if I do that. So then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing I did before. To add a little bit of white. Mix up a mid-tone. And then the light is coming from this direction, so there we go. Because this is so wet, I can put a little bit more more white on there, because it will blend itself. So. Stipple on this mid-tone. I am seeing a few different places where could use a little touch-up of glue, so I'll probably just go back with a little bit of hot glue and or super glue. Fix those before I do the oil wash, so that it can kind of cover up, or I can go back with any paint that I need to and cover it up. Bam. Easy peasy. So that's the blue, that's the red on there. Just got to get that yellow on there. I think I will go ahead and toss this back in here so that I can add just a little bit of shading to the back of it, because that's one of the reasons I like trying to paint highlights from a directional lighting, if you will, is that it helps make parts of the piece kind of fit together a little bit better. Cool. I dig it. Well, I usually try to do my videos about an hour long. I am going to do more today because I missed yesterday because I went camping. It was fun camping though. But this morning I gotta get the house moving and all of that stuff. I will be back to stream again probably about noon. And only if I see the blur symbol in the sky am I gonna have to not live stream, because I might have to go help with other things in other places. Hopefully I'll document them so you can see them on my channel. If you guys have missed any of my live streams, or you want to know how I built this, or how the painting, want to see the painting from the start to the finish, I have pretty much all of the builds and painting I've live streamed it so far, so you can always catch it there. If you hit hit the bell icon, I think it'll give you a notification when I go live. So if you like my live stream stuff, that's probably the best way to make sure that you catch me, because right now I am absolutely chaotic with my timing as far as live streaming, so it's kind of like you have to get lucky enough to catch me live. But I try to do 7 in the morning, noon, 7 at night, all like New York time. Yeah, you too, Jeff. Thanks for hanging out with me, my friend. You have yourself a wonderful day. Potato, Popper, all you guys that came and hung out with me for the stream. Thank you very much. I guess, I'll catch you guys later. If you need, message me. Y'all have a good one. Peace.